students, today we are going to do the first chapter of chemistry, that is matter and its surroundings. So in this chapter, what are the key things you have to learn that is very important? That is the scope of this chapter. So by learning this chapter, you will be covering the matter. What is matter? Regarding the definition and the characteristic of matter. Point number 2, we will go with the diffusion and its application. The third is about the Brownian motion. Next, we will go with the states of matter. Regarding the states of matter, once we complete the states of matter, how it is interconverted. Rather, we will give this point as interconversion of the states of matter. We will go the difference between the boiling and evaporation, and what are the factors related on evaporation. So what are the factors responsible for the rate of evaporation. And finally, we will go with the basic physical quantities and their SI units. So students, here we have these few things within the scope of this chapter, and we will be enumerating point-wise so that it will be easy for us to learn and mug up the matter very easily. So the first thing I would like to ask you, what is matter? You may be telling me it is which occupies the substance which occupies a space and has got mass. But together with it, you have to add something else because you are in class 9 now. So matter is the substance which occupies space, has mass, and can be perceived by our senses. Our senses, there are 5 senses in our body, and with those senses we can understand the matter. Even by closing our eyes, by feeling, we can understand the presence of matter. Like air is a matter. Can you see it? You can feel it. So sometimes it happens that it may not be perceived by your eyes, but other senses can perceive it. This is how we define matter as substances which has mass, occupies space, and can be perceived by our senses. And there are 5 states of matter. In your book there have been written 3, that is solid, liquid and gas. But together with it, we will go with 5 such kind of matter. Namely, number 1, solid. Number 2, liquids. Number 3, gases. Number 4, it is the plasma. And number 5, BEC, that is Bose-Einstein condensate. So student, here we have learned about the matter. Now there are the matter in the form of 5 basic elements. Even we have these elements written in our mythology, in our religious scriptures. Can you name them? Yes, we have the 5 elements which makes up the matter, and we call it as Pancha Tattva. What we call it as? Pancha. Pancha means 5, and Tattva. Tattva, elements. So what are the 5 elements? You have air, earth, fire. Come on. Number 1 is earth, air, fire, and followed by sky and water. So the Pancha Tattva, that is the 5 elements which makes up the matter, includes air, earth, fire, the sky and the water. So these are all the 5 elements what we have as matter. Now if I want to give examples of matter, you can put chair, tables, and you can say dogs, trees, buildings, etc, etc, etc. So all these, whatever you see, air particles, water, okay, so solid, liquid, gas, whatever you see, whatever you can understand through your, by seeing it or by perceiving with your other senses, is all matter. But can you say that like beautiful or sometimes we use some abstract nouns. Those abstract nouns are not matter because it does not occupy space. Like electricity. Electricity, here we say is not a matter. Why? Because it can be perceived by our sense, but it does not occupy space and it does not have mass. So if you go in the macromolecule, if you don't think about the macromolecule, so it will not have any space, it does not have mass, and it can be sometimes perceived by senses or not. Anyway, now the characteristics of matter. So student, get ready with your pen and the paper. We are going to note down about the certain characteristics of matter. The first point here is matter is made up of small particles called atoms. So all matter, solid, liquid, gases are all made up of small particles called atoms. Number two, these particles are too small to be observed. So you cannot see by your eyes. You require some other agents for it. So you cannot see it by your naked eyes. So these particles are too small to be observed by your bare eyes, by your naked eyes. So we are planning if can be seen by the help of some microscopes, some electron microscopes and all. So this is still a process going on. The third point is that these particles, what we call it as the atoms, molecules or ions, whatever it is, they are not static. They are constantly in vibration. They are constantly in motion. So these particles are constantly moving, constantly. The next point, the fourth point, these particles have spaces in them. So the particles, that is the atoms, in between them there are spaces. So we call this as intermolecular spaces, interparticle spaces. So within these spaces are the molecules or the atoms, they start vibrating because there are spaces. Had there been no spaces, they could not vibrate. And finally we have the particles of matter attract each other with a kind of force. We call this as intermolecular forces of attraction. So student, we have to learn as many as 5 such important characteristics of matter. The first point is that all matter are made up of very small particles called atoms. And number 2, the atoms are so small they can't be seen by our naked eyes. And the third point, these particles are constantly in motion. They are not static at any point of time or place. So wherever you go, at whatever time you take, you can see the atoms or the particles within the matter are constantly vibrating or constantly in motion. The fourth point we have is that the particles, they have spaces in between them, and we call them interparticle spaces of matter. Though they have spaces, yet they attract each other with a kind of force called as intermolecular or interparticular force of attraction. So student, this is all about the matter. So here another thing I would like to tell you is this matter are constantly in motion. So they would be moving from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. For example, if you put one agarbatti, an incense stick, at one corner of the room, the particle starts moving from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So when they move, this process is called as diffusion. So what is diffusion then? Diffusion is the movement of the particles from the region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So when they do it, they intermix with each other. The essence of the incense stick get mixed up with the air and they move outwards apart from each other and carry the essence. And they do so by getting into spaces between the particles. So this also proves that the particles have spaces in between them, and the incense sticks, when it is made burnt, those gases, they mix up within the spaces of the air and they travel outward and apart. The intermixing of particles of two different types of matter by their own, of their own. So when you need not to have creating a pressure, automatically they will move. You might have seen when you are moving up and down to the street, if you pass near a biryani stall. So you can have the essence of the biryani. Why? Because the essence of the biryani, it travels up to your nose, not by any other agent, by itself. Why? Those particles, they take the space in between the air and travel outward from the region of high concentration to a region of low concentration, and that's the reason why you get the essence. So next is regarding the application of diffusion. How and where we are going to apply it. For example, you might have seen potassium permanganate. This potassium permanganate, if you add a pinch in the water, so when you add a pinch, the molecules of potassium permanganate starts moving away to a region of low concentration from a region of high concentration and make the entire water pink. So this you can see, sometimes you have seen if you add a crystal of sugar candy, in Bengali we call it as michri. So when we add one sugar candy in the glass of water and keep it at rest for some time, you would see that the sugar particle starts moving outward until and unless the entire liquid gets sweetened by the effect of the sugar candy. This is what we call diffusion. I repeat once more. So diffusion is the movement of the solid particle from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Is it clear, student? So the next point what I am going to discuss is about the same potassium permanganate. When a crystal of potassium permanganate is placed in a beaker of water, the water slowly turns purple on its own, even without stirring, even without heating, without creating any pressure by its own. What is the reason behind? The reason is both potassium permanganate as well as water, both are matter and they are consisting of particles. When potassium permanganate crystal is put in the water, the purple colored particles of potassium permanganate start spreading throughout the water, making the whole water purple. So this is a very interesting thing. You can try at home. You can use, if you don't have potassium permanganate, it doesn't matter. Take a drop of ink. You take just a beaker, a glass, and put a drop of ink inside and try to just keep it off for about an hour. Let it dry up. Now when you add water, slowly you can see from the dried up ink, the blue color or the black color of the ink starts spreading outward from the region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Actually, on dissolving, the particles of potassium permanganate get into the spaces between the particles of the water. This shows that the particles have spaces between them and they are constantly in motion. So there are spaces and the particles are constantly in motion. Otherwise, how can it be carried from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration? Even in the gases also we have told you that if you put an incense stick, it will happen. Sometimes you have seen the fragments of the incense sticks, as I have told you. If you keep in one corner, it spreads the entire room. The particles of the gases produced by the burning of the incense stick spreads in the whole room quickly. Right? This shows that the particles of matter are constantly in motion. So student, here I'll tell you that you have to be very careful while you go with the states of matter. It might seem that the chapter is very easy and you can just do within a wink of a moment. No, students, go thoroughly with that chapter, because matter is what we have in our surroundings, and we are lucky that we can see at least this matter, majority of it, because they are macromolecule in size. Okay, so let us have the next part of the chapter in the next session. Till then, goodbye.